Welcome into the Pats Nation. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast. You can get us, and of course, 790 The Score. And make sure you give us a call in heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. It's a message line. Leave a message 24/7. Have a take so Joe picks yours, or you can send us an email in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. And make sure when you get on YouTube, you subscribe. That little thumbs up there. There you go, Joe. It's right at the screen there. Subscribe so you never, ever, ever, ever miss a show. Listen, we got a good one today. Going to go into QB breakdown. I have a lot to talk about there. And, of course, we'll go back in the weekly rewind, go into our coach's corner. I think Mark's got a few things to say when we get there. And, of course, we're going to go Pat's preview where we talk about this Commanders game tonight. So, gentlemen, how are we doing the last week of camp? Everything finished up. We got our sleeping bags, and we brought them home with our foot lockers and everything.
You don't have time for that story?
No.
My God. It's the end of camp, Chris. And listen, is anybody really like enthused or excited after this camp for the season to start? It's, we can't wait to see the regular season. Like I don't feel any of that around here. Maybe it's me, Chris. I don't know, and I don't know if anyone is really excited. Like you feel. I mean, I know you're out in Arizona, but I don't feel the excitement of it's a new season. We got a lot of hope. We think we can do something. I don't feel it, but I mean, we'll talk about it today. But
I'm enthusiastic because I'm miserable. So when you're a miserable human being like I am, and all you want to do is talk about negative things, this is right up my alley, right? So
that's not normal, though. You're not normal.
Yeah, that's right. People
tell. The people who've been listening to Corso Catone, they've lost all hope in the Patriots.
That's it. Now they're moving on to the Pats Nation. Think they're going to get something different, like Miss Clorox on the plane, who told me to throw out the Clorox wipes because she's going to throw up and she's allergic to it. We'll talk about that another day. A plane story. Tune into Corso and Catone for that one next week.
It was more plain stories. Listen, anyway. But Chris,
you want to talk quarterback though? Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, let's talk. Maybe you'll get excited when we talk quarterback.
All right, let's talk quarterbacks. QB breakdown, Joe.
Okay, now.
Hit it, boys.
That's great.
Yeah, I like that.
You got to turn on YouTube and make sure you watch that little promo wash Joe puts up because it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. He doesn't have a lot to work with. I mean, let's face it, with this quarterback room. So.
Of the Patriots symbol. That's it. That's all you get. No real bases.
So, Mark, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about Drake Maye. Yesterday in Corso and Catone, we talked a little bit about some of last week, what he was doing in the game, and how all of a sudden now he's come along. And was it really that he's made these huge strides, or is it that they allowed him to play? So overall, I mean, he played a lot of snaps last week in the Philly preseason game. He was 6 of 11, 47 yards, 1 touchdown running, which was a nice play. Had some real beautiful throws that were dropped, which is another issue, No number one. What did you make of his performance and then to end camp?
So, Chris, I think he was able to see things and make some decisions in the line of scrimmage that I don't think were necessarily called. I think a couple of the throws to Baker, I think those were decisions he made. I think he read the field. I think in the case of one of them, I think he might have even changed the play at the line of scrimmage. So I think he showed us some things, Chris, and I know you want to talk about his footwork in a minute because he did demonstrate some of that, and I know you've been all over that since he got drafted, so I'm going to save that for you to talk about. But the other thing, Chris, is let's temper whatever we say because he was playing against guys that some guys may not even be on Philly's roster because they didn't play starters at all the other night. They played them in the joint practice, but they didn't play them in the game. So he was going against 2s and 3s. So let's just say that, right? But he did show, Chris, better. And maybe it's just because we haven't seen him play. Maybe he's not as bad as everyone said he was. Maybe it's just the fact that he's out there with 2s and 3s and he never gets a chance to play, because he was out there in the second quarter with the first string offensive line. And there were some guys that are probably going to be starters at the wide receiver position. But it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows, because he did make the mistake on the snap. You and I at first thought it was on the center, but you can explain it, Chris. It wasn't on the center. It was on Maye. So everything wasn't perfect, but it did show signs, Chris, of there's something there that can definitely be developed.
Yeah, there were definitely some third pick in the draft stuff that we saw. I mean, and there were some things that we saw that the floor is lower than we thought too. And so I mean, look. The snap, I'll give you that. He was backing out of that a little too fast. Okay. And that's what happened there. That's why
that's a rookie mistake, Chris.
And that's a rookie mistake. The one thing I will tell you that, and I've been looking for this from him throughout camp and saying, okay, what do I want to see from him? Because I'm one of these guys that doesn't think he should play right now. Okay. So I want to see good overall operation. I want to see good understanding of protections, progressions, being smart with the football. Don't get into, behind the sticks, things like that, decision making, and then some of the footwork. And I saw that. So I don't necessarily mind that he's playing against Philly guys that aren't going to be there anymore, because those things are those travel with who you're playing with. You know what I mean? And so I did see that. I saw good operation in and out of huddle. I saw no big issues with time, with clock management.
Chris, he did slide in the pocket to make a couple of those throws, right?
Yeah, and that throw down to Pelt down the seam, which was, I thought, his best throw of the night. You saw him step. He shuffled into the pocket. He kind of slipped to the left a little, bought himself. We haven't seen that since Brady, where he moves around, a lot of mobility within the pocket to get himself another second to deliver that ball. So that was good. I thought he read the field really well. So the things and his footwork, Mark. I already mentioned that, but coming up, 90% of what he was doing was in the shotgun, which then
I was just going to say that. Which, Chris, they put him in the shotgun.
Right, which means they're, doing some of the things he likes to do or can do, or they're playing to his strengths, which I love to see out of a coaching staff.
Because that's all he ran in college, Chris, was out of the shotgun,
right.
Pretty much.
But you did see him understand it. He luckily had too huge of an issue coming, backing out of there and still reading the field. And so I thought overall it was a good night. Gave people a lot of hope for what the future can bring.
Chris, considering a week earlier,
and he's backed it up since he's come out of that game and put that days together. It's another thing.
Well, considering, Chris, a week or two earlier, it was like the sky was falling. Oh my God, he's Mac Jones all over again. And
we effed up. We should have taken Fields and Harrison.
Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes on that, because I think we did see enough last week to say, yeah, this we may have something. We may. I'm not saying we do. We may.
So now, it comes to whether or not he should play, okay, and again, some of the things he did wrong. Again, he created pressure, his own pressure. He bailed out of the pocket instead of stepping up a couple times and delivering throws. He was a little shy in doing that, and he pointed that out in his post game. He said, there's a few throws I should have hung in there and made the throw instead of bailing out. So, I mean, he sees it. That's good. So the big question now becomes, should he be playing? Is he going to be the day one starter and all this? And the coaching staff, I mean, Mayo said they're going to have a decision early next couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. After this Washington game tonight, which I think they're all going to play. So, look, Mayo talks about competition, okay, that there's been a competition in camp, right? But there really isn't, is there?
I don't believe there to be. Chris, there's no competition in camp, Chris. He never goes out with the ones. I mean, if you just think getting snaps is competition, he's never with the ones, Chris. If he does, it's for a play or two. Brissett gets 95% of the run with the ones. After Mayo made the comment this week about it's a competition, the next day in practice, May gets 3 snaps with the ones, and the 3 handoffs.
It was like 18. Chris. Brissett had like 18 out of 20.
But Chris, he didn't even throw the ball. He's 3 handoffs. What the hell is that? I mean, that's not a competition, Chris. I think he's just trying. Listen, Jacoby Brissett had a couple of tough weeks in practice. He didn't look good in the joint practices against Philly. He definitely didn't look good in the game. He throws that pick in the end zone, reminiscent of a Mac Jones play. I think they did that to light the fire under him more than it's a real competition, because I think Brissett hasn't looked good. So I think that's all that is, Chris.
And you and I haven't been down there, but the guys that have been down there, like Greg Bedard, Boston Sports Journal, he spoke this week and talked about this, and I'm using air quotes, this competition. Joe, do we have that?
So related to the quarterback competition and whether May can start and when he can start, I have to allow that these guys could decide, all of a sudden say, all right, we're going to put him in there and we're going to build the offense around what Drake May does. If Bill was here, there's no chance that they would do that, because look, Mayo's talking about a competition. In practice, there's no competition. And I take competition from covering Belichick as like Drake May and Cam Newton. Them getting not equal snaps, but at least some snaps with the starting offensive line together so that the coaches can compare and contrast.
And so, and that was Greg Bedard, Boston Sports Journal. He was on Felger and Maz this week talking. I think he was talking about.
He meant Mac Jones,
He meant Mac Jones and Cam Newton. And to his point, see, with Bill, there was a method to that madness. You understood, where you say, okay, this guy's getting a lot of reps with the ones. He's getting reps with the ones. Now we see who comes out and plays in the preseason. Whoever's playing more in that last preseason game is the guy that's not playing, And so you knew. But with these guys, you don't. And look at what Bill did. Belichick with Mac Jones, when he made the decision, because he said it this week, you got to be careful with rookies. Once you decide to put them in, you cannot pull them. And he cut Cam Newton. He released them. So there was no issue. So, Mark, I mean, you're right. I think this is to light a fire under and before we're going to get to Brissett, but do you think Mac Jones should be starting?
Mac Jones? No, I don't think Mac Jones should be
starting.
Now
you got me doing it. Drake May. Of course, Mac Jones shouldn't be starting over Lawrence, but Drake May. Should he be starting week 1?
Drake May, no. And the reason I say no, Chris, is because they haven't prepared him to start week 1. There's a difference between should he be starting and did they prepare him to start. If they prepared him to start from the first week of training camp, there's a difference, Chris. Yeah. Could he start? If he was prepared, I think he showed you enough last week that, he probably could have. So then I want to make that distinction, okay? But I don't think they ever intended for him to start. When they drafted him, their mindset was he's a 21-year-old. We're not going to rush him. We're not going to do what Bill did to Mac Jones. We're going to let this kid sit. We're going to let him learn because he's so young, and that's why they went and got Brissett, and they really don't want to deviate from that, and I don't think they're going to. Although, is there a scenario, Chris, where you could see May playing at some point as the starter, even if Brissett's not injured? Would they make that switch if Brissett looks bad enough and say, okay, you know what, we're going to go to May and get some excitement, especially if the joint starts to be half empty? Does Bob Kraft pick up the phone and say, put the kid in because we need a charge with the fan base?
Yeah, I mean, I think they got a plan. They're going to stick to it. I don't want to play Drake May because of his age, because of his lack of experience. In college, the few games he played, I don't think he can last 17 weeks, and I don't want to pull him. So I'd rather him play later in the year for that reason and that reason only.
But there is the possibility, Chris, you think they could put him in later in the year.
Yeah, now I do, sure. But, somebody else has an idea about starting, rookie quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks in general, and that being Tom Brady. Joe, do we have that?
used to be college programs. Now they're college teams. You're no longer learning a program, you're learning a playbook. And the program is ultimately, like at Michigan, for me, that was a pro-style program. 5 years, I got to learn how to drop back pass, to read defenses, to read coverages, to be coached. I had to learn from being 7th quarterback on the depth chart to moving up to 3rd to ultimately being a starter. I had to learn all those things in college. That was development. Then I went to New England, and I was developed by Coach Belichick and the offensive staff there. I didn't start my first year. I think it's just a tragedy that we're forcing these rookies to play early. But the reality is the only reason why they are is because we dumbed the game down, which has allowed them to play. It used to be thought of at a higher level. We used to spend hours and hours in the offseason and training camp trying to be a little bit better than next year. But I think what happens is discourages the coaches from going to deep levels because they realize the players don't have the opportunity to go to a deep level, so they're just going to teach them where they're at.
There you go, Tom. We're talking about kicking everybody in the nuts, on your way out, right?
So that was this week. He was on Stephen A. Smith podcast this week, and that was one of the comments that he made, and it just happened to fit like what's been going on with the Patriots.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. But what he doesn't understand is none of these guys are him. None of these guys are ever going to have that ability to go that deep. That's
Chris,
the reason.
But he
why.
brings something up interesting
So,
up. But he brings something interesting up. So you mentioned the fact that Maye didn't even play, didn't play that much in college. He's 21 years old. To Brady's point, you probably would have to dummy things down for him to start because he's not ready technically, right? Because they just haven't they haven't prepared him, but do they even have enough time to prepare him? So in that sense, Chris, but a guy like Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, do you think they're dummying things down for them to start?
They're tailoring their offense to their talents. I'll say that. I don't think there's anybody in the league now that you can that can come in and you can just throw them a playbook like McDaniels did to Brady. They're just not good enough. These guys are not good enough. The athleticism takes control, and so the playbooks aren't as deep as they used to be.
So
it's
in that
generally
sense,
all around, other than Kansas City, I'm not seeing it.
So in that sense, Chris, you agree with what Brady's saying?
Yeah, I do. But I agree with not playing him simply because he didn't play at Michigan. He didn't play at Ohio State. He didn't play at, Alabama. He played at a school that he didn't get a lot of plays. He didn't get a lot of time. He's 21 years old. He's not going to last 17 weeks, and so I don't want to pull him. Put him in week 6, week 7. That's fine, So, and you're right. The last thing I'll say, and we go, Brissett, yeah, he's not looking so good, and Mayo was lighting a fire under his ass. That was the only reason for it. So, QB Breakdown was presented by Corso and Catone. Saturdays, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. You got Catone's comments. You got Yankees, Red Sox, and Patriots. Make sure you're tuning in and subscribing. But when we come back, we're going to go back in the week and weekly rewind. No flipping. The real deal New England feel. What does that mean? We're like you. We're going to bitch about everything.
My opinion, our draft, the good, the bad, it was ugly.
These people, Mark, drive me freaking insane. Bananas.
It's so frustrating and aggravating. I can't take it.
The real deal New England feel. It's going to be real. Back in with more Pats Nation. So, listen. Got a lot to talk about with the Patriots going back in the week. We talk quarterbacks. We want to talk the rest of the team. Let's do it in Weekly Rewind. We're going to do it now. Going back through the week. About a weekly rewind. Okay, Mark. So a lot to get to on the offense. So let's start with the offense. I want to talk about overall ending camp. I mean, I think we talked about that. But some of the things that stick out to you, and then I want to get to the offensive line. I want to talk wide receivers.
So what has stood out, Chris, is I think just their lack of overall talent on this team, Chris. There's no depth. Okay. Yeah, you got some guys that are starting, and if guys go down, Chris, there's just a lack of overall talent on this football team. You talk about, we're going to cut down to 53. Well, you got 53 real NFL caliber players anyways? on this roster?
You're coming up to 53, not down.
Okay, you're coming up. That's a good. That's a nice point, Chris.
I heard somebody
haven't
say
heard
that
it.
this week. I just can't remember.
All
who.
right.
No,
Well, I
you're
knew
right,
that-
Mark.
well,
And it
I knew that
starts.
couldn't have been your concept.
Well, listen, and it starts with the offensive line. Okay.
Yeah.
So talking about this, all right. So they allowed sacks in that game. They got their faces kicked in against Philly during that joint practice, the one practice they had. And I think, I think Elliot Wolfe we're going to hear from him later on in the show. I think he's delusional, but they're okay with what they have. And, is it because, and by the way, Lowe was playing at left tackle. Now he's hurt. Okay. Is it a matter of they just stank every guy up and down, or are they not picking 5, getting some continuity and playing together?
I don't think that. Well, it looks like they're not picking 5, Chris, and getting continuity and playing together and just getting, reps and reps and reps and reps and reps. They're not doing that now. Is that because they're so bad that they just had to keep scrambling guys around to see, Jesus, one day somebody looks good, one day somebody looks so damn bad, they put somebody else there? I mean, if that's the case, then you're really in trouble. I don't know, Chris. I just think it's a lack of talent, and they didn't know how the hell to put this offensive line together, which goes to the inexperience of this coaching staff.
Yeah.
The offensive line coach, the head coach, I don't think they knew what to do with this offensive line, Chris, because it has a lack of talent.
Oh, it's bad. I mean, and Skarnecki always said, put these guys together and let them play. Let them play together. So to me, you pick the 5. It's got to be, Mark, it has to be Okafor at tackle, a left tackle, in my opinion. Okay. Robinson at either right or left guard. Okay. Andrews at center. Owinu, obviously, he's been playing guard, or drop him and Wallace at the tackle of the guard spot, or so. That's the group that needs to be.
So you don't think Lowe is going to start?
Well, if he's hurt,
if he's healthy, I'm saying.
No, I think if he's healthy, he starts. I think he starts there, and I think Okafor starts on the right.
Okay.
And I think Owinu plays right guard. I think obviously Andrews, and I think Robinson has earned it. The rookie, he's going to play guard. I mean, it's not great, but if they play together, I think it can be okay.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. So let's keep a lookout for that and see who gets cut. Wide receivers, Mark. Okay. I want to talk who's in and out, but some guys that have dropped. Baker, talk to me about him, because
Baker, Chris, I really
balls.
don't when he was. Yeah, I really don't when he was drafted. He was going to be like possibly one of the surprise picks of the draft, and that he could develop into possibly a high 2 or maybe even a 1. But he's having the dropsies. He dropped balls in the joint practice with Philly. He dropped balls in the 2 balls in the game against Philly. And now that carried over this past week into practice in preparation for this Commanders game tonight. So listen, that's not something you want to see out of a rookie, Chris. He went from being one of your top 2-3 receivers. He's almost fallen all the way down to the bottom. He's like your 4th, 5th option now. They're saying because of the drops, he's dropping down lower and lower. That's a problem, Chris. When coming out of the draft, everyone thought, oh, he's going to be a huge contributor. If he drops the ball, he's not.
Well, to me, I'll take the drops. Listen, I'll take the drops because I know they can fix that. I know that's up here, and I'm pointing my head, because he gets open.
Oh, he definitely gets open.
He gets separation. He gets separation on long sideline routes, and that's what this team needs. Somebody can get separations. I think they could solve the catch.
They have somebody else that can do that,
And so that's the other problem. If they're looking at Baker that's going down, Thornton's getting all this press. And I don't want Thornton anywhere near this team, because I know what you got. I know as soon as you release Butte, Thornton's going to get hurt and you're screwed.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen.
Butte will get picked up immediately, Chris. He won't clear waivers. Somebody will pick him up. So let me ask you a question, Chris. What do you think about Polk?
I think Polk good. I mean, I think Polk has had Pop Douglas is the best receiver. He for starting off hurt and not strong, he's caught the most balls. He's caught up to everybody. But I like Polk. I know he dropped that ball in the Philly game. Okay.
But he showed some elusiveness in the Philly game too, Chris, on that other pass.
He's another guy that gets separation, and I do think he's a catch radius kind of guy. Throw the ball around him, he'll catch the ball. So I'm happy so far with what I've seen the receivers.
Who are your 6?
Who would I have?
Who are you keeping?
Osborne,
Butte, not Butte. Bourne, let's consider Bourne to be on the pup. He's not available.
And I do think they're going to keep 6. So to me, it's going to be Osborne. It's going to be Douglas, Polk, Baker. I think they're going to keep Rieger. I don't want to, but I think they're going to. They see something in him with speed on the outside and all this. And then I want Bourne, Butte, I mean. But I think they're going to keep Thornton.
That's a mistake of mistakes.
Is that who you know?
I would have kept the same guys as you minus Thornton. I would have kept Butte.
And if it has to come to 5,
maybe they can trade Thornton because he has shown something in camp. Maybe he goes out and has a real good game against the Commanders, and you get like a 5th rounder for him.
He's too frail.
Trade
Listen,
him.
I just don't
Trade
buy him. You love him. You just want.
I don't love him. I just said trade him.
Yeah, you know. Mark, you've liked him since the draft.
N'Keal Harry, by the way, N'Keal Harry.
You know, you've got to keep bringing it. Joe, I swear to God, I'm going to come through the screen.
Where's N'Keal Harry right now? Is he in the NFL?
He keeps throwing N'Keal Harry in my face. I never said I liked him.
You liked the pick after it happened. You didn't say you drafted him. You wanted AJ Brown, but you said, I'm okay with the pick. He's going to be all right. And I said, I ripped up my papers and said he's not even on any of my sheets.
You're just a jerk. That's all there is to it. That's
right.
it. Big jerk over there on the other end. And so okay, stay tuned on the let us know what you think at Heated Hotline on the offense, and we'll see what the cut downs are. Next week we'll talk about the final roster. But Mark, going to the defense now, okay, on that side of the ball. Look, the defensive line, okay, I think they're talented, but they're thin. And when I say thin, I mean in numbers and in size, stature, like physical size. You know, because past Godchow, Equali's had a good camp. Farms is even playing pretty good, but they're smaller. You know, you lose in Bondmore. These guys are smaller guys that when you need to stop the run, are they going to be able to hold up? And then you got the pass rush issue without Judon.
I was just going to say, Chris, that's going to be an issue, the running against them. And the pass rush is key, Chris, because there's no Judon. Uche's hurt. The other kid they picked up from they got from the Giants. I don't know. Is it Zenis? Yeah. How do you pronounce his last name? Jimenez, whatever. He was showing well in camp off the edge. He's hurt. I mean, what do you got? Jennings had a good camp, but you're really thin on the outside, Chris, in the edge. And if you can't get a pass rush, your corners are going to get exposed. Not necessarily Gonzalez, but the other side.
Yeah.
You have a problem with no pass
Well,
rush.
you know, the whole key to this thing, and I agree with you, Jennings. Uche's got to stay healthy. It's Keon White.
Oh, if that's Keon right. About Keon White. You're right.
If he can, obviously, Dietrich Wise is always there. He's solid. He's consistent. But if Keon White can do what I think he can do, then I think they're going to be fine in the pass rush. I do, with keeping Uche healthy. I'm a little more concerned, like I said, about that run defense because they play gap defense. You know, it's 4 down. You know, it's an even front. So you got 4 down linemen with 2 ends out there, and a lot of times they're in gaps. And so the smaller you are, the more you get pushed around. You know, you can get cut down on and get pushed right out of that gap. So, you know,
but you have strong middle of the field linebackers.
Well, that's the next thing. Okay, that's the other issue, Mark, is, you know, it's starting now. Everybody's starting to say it again. Yeah. You know, listen, off-ball linebacker has been a problem for how many years?
You've been saying it's even the year they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl team. You said, but we still need an off-the-ball linebacker, even though Belichick won with this team.
Right. And so this Takiaki that came over from what, Cleveland, he still hasn't seen. We still haven't seen him. We don't know what his deal is. We don't know. Mapu's out too, who could be a box safety, which is kind of like that off-ball situation.
He could be a hybrid, right? Hybrid.
Yeah. And so, you know, the other guys, you got McMillan, Tavai. Listen, everybody's talking about Tavai, and they're all excited about Tavai, right? Okay.
Didn't we extend Tavai too?
Of course. We extended all the 4-win players, you know, the 4-win players. That's what I call them. They have their shirts made. Where are the 4-win guys? Bentley is not going to play off ball, but he's not a guy to get. Look, Saquon Barkley took a wheel route down the sideline because you can't have a linebacker to get out there. Like I said, always, if you want to know the difference between what you have and what good linebackers are, go watch San Francisco play with Warner and Greenlaw. You go watch those 2 inside linebackers play. then you know what you have. Then come back and watch Tavai and tell me what the hell we're doing over here for the last 4 years. And so that's the middle linebacker issue, and go into the secondary, talk about the corner, because Gonzalez has to have, for them to be a top 10 team defense, he's going to have a Pro Bowl year, no?
Oh, he's going to have to be absolutely. He's going to have a Pro Bowl year, Chris. He's going to have to be a top 5 corner, shutdown corner, top 5 corner, in order for them to have a top 10 defense. Because the other side, Chris, has struggled. The other side of the corner room,
and they missed out on getting Gilmore.
What was that, Chris? What did he sign for $7 or $8 million? You just got rid of Judon's contract. You don't have $7 or $8 million.
They're $50 million still under the cap, by the way.
That's a disgrace. I just don't think he wanted to come here. I'm going to be honest with you.
Maybe not. Who the hell wants to? I mean, you got guys saying no to them left and right. So yeah, you got Austin, Wade, Bolden. I mean, these are guys that you're
the rookie, Chris, who we had promised for, Dial, had a bad camp.
He's probably going to get put on the practice squad. Bolden probably will too. But you're talking about Bolden making this team, which means that's going up to 53 rather than cutting guys down. That's how little talent you have. I think Chris, they'll be okay at safety, though.
If you cut Bolden and Dial, to your point, they'll clear waivers. They'll be back on the practice squad because I don't think anybody's picking them up based on what they showed in camp.
No, I think Austin makes it. I think Wade makes it. And one of those two guys. And I just don't want to see Jonathan Jones have to play boundary corner again.
I was
He's
just
good
going
in
to
the
say,
inside.
Chris, he's going to have to kick out there, I bet. And Marcus Jones will have to play inside. So
we'll see what these roster cutdowns are going to be. That's coming next week. And so when we come back to you next week, we'll have the final roster. We'll talk about that. But let us what you think in Heated Hotline, or send us an email. But Weekly Rewind was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, we come back. Going to go inside the coach's room. Coach's Corner is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Back in with more Pats Nation. So, Mark, got to talk about the coaches a little bit. We're going to do that Coach's Corner. We're going to do it now. Joe?
Coach's Corner.
Such a menacing, wash.
Again, they got to watch it on YouTube to get the full effect, Chris. You know what I mean?
I like it, though. I like it,
Yeah.
Because it's how I feel about them. Okay, so, and I want to throw Elliot in this segment today. I want to throw Elliot Wolfe in here a little bit, too.
Okay.
We're going to hear from him in a few minutes. But so looking at the coaching staff, okay, we mentioned it when we talked in our QB breakdown about Mayo says there's a competition. We heard Greg Bedard, what he had to say. That doesn't look like there is one. But diving more to the other side of that, do you think it's a situation where they had a plan, they know their plan, they're sticking with their plan, and now this competition talk was just because Brissett's playing so poorly? Or do you think they just don't have a clue?
No, I think they do have a clue, Chris. I think they had a plan, and I think they knew what that plan was with Mayo. That's up with May. That's why they went and signed Brissett. But Brissett, Chris, has looked so bad. Like, I think the pick against Philly in that game at the end zone looks so much like Mac Jones last year. I think they got nervous and like, Jesus, if this is what he's going to show, we might have to play May in week 2 or 3 because we can't trot this kid out here if he's going to look that bad and look like Mac Jones did last year. I saw visions of the Indianapolis game again, when he threw that pick. So I think that was Mayo trying to light a fire under Brissett. And it worked for a practice, Chris. The next time they went to full pads, Brissett had a great practice. And then he went back to being Brissett again. And he threw the following practice, he threw a pick. He got sacked. He had a bunch of incompletions. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know why people expect more out of him anyway. Not to go back to the quarterbacks, but come on, Jesus Christ. I mean, was Brissett that good to begin with?
Nobody knows, but he knows Van Pelt's system.
You know
right?
what?
That was the reason why they wanted him, right?
No, they wanted him to take. They wanted him here so he could take a beating, and I get that.
Okay,
so,
I get that
so
too. But yeah, Chris, this is part of the plan, Chris. I think they have a clue. They know what they knew what they wanted to do here. I don't think that, but it's just Mayo's inexperience as a coach, Chris. Why he's flip flopping now? He said Brissett's on number one, and now he's saying it's a competition. You can't do that, Chris. It's a bad look.
The other thing, I'm going to push back on this a little bit. When you say, I think they had a plan. I think they knew what they were doing with their plan. But is it for the right reason? See, this is the thing that is upsetting to me when I watch all this. Well, because first Mayo comes out and he says, well, Alex Van Pelt is the head coach of the offense, right? Which is like, why the hell would you? I can't understand how anybody would capitulate that way. Would just be like, turn it over. This is the head coach of the offense? Where has he earned that? Number one, Alex Van Pelt. And number two.
Well, he's the OC.
But OC or not, so wasn't Bill O'Brien, and so wasn't Matt Patricia. Does that make them the head coach of the look? To say something like that, you show you're such a lack of experience in taking over control of a room. I mean, it's either you don't want to take control of the room because you don't want the egg on your face, you're timid to do it, or you really think, I'm so secure in my abilities here that I could say something like that. People still know the buck stops here. But the problem with that, if that were the case, then you'd hear him say, when they ask him about, is Drake Maye going to play? Whose decision is it? You'd hear him say, it's mine. Not, it's collaborative. Elliot Wolfe's going to have something, which I don't know what the hell Elliot Wolfe's got to do with talking about who should play quarterback all of a sudden now, who should be the one. But anyway, it's going to be Wolfe. It's going to be Alex Van Pelt. It's going to be me. What the hell?
Yeah. So listen, but he started that, Chris, from his opening press conference when they hired him about it's going to be a collaborative process and we're going to work collaboratively. He wanted to be the anti-Bill because Bill was considered to be like he was the dictator. Everything, it was what Bill said goes or you're out the door. So he wants to be the total opposite of what Bill was. But the problem with that is that doesn't work. If you're the head coach, you have to be the decision maker. You have to be the one who makes the tough calls, not your assistant coach. Oh, it's going to be a group decision. No, you're the boss. You make the decision. Hey, Alex, I understand what you're saying. He's my starter. You know what I mean?
Make it work.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Work. Do your job that we brought you here to do. But see, the problem here, okay, is he didn't even have control of who the hell they're picking. See, I've heard this all week too, saying Alex.
Who didn't have control?
Mayo. Mayo didn't choose his OC. Elliot Wolfe the OC because Alex Pelt doesn't know Mayo for anything. He had the relationship with Elliot Wolfe. Mayo wanted a Kaylee and wanted some other guys maybe, but so that's not really his guy. So he's not making the decision to Elliot Wolfe. What people don't understand, and they're missing the boat on this, isn't somebody else is doing it for him. He couldn't do it. He had two guys that he thought could be the coaches here, OCs, and both of them turned them down. And at that point, he went to his GM and said, I got nothing in my bag. I got nothing else because I don't know anybody, because I've never gone anywhere but New England, and I was a DC possibly. What the hell do I know about picking an OC? Please help me, Elliot. That's what happened there, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Chris. You're absolutely
and that
right.
just goes to show you he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be the head coach yet of anything.
His top two choices, Chris, were Haley, right? And I forget, and the other guy, I forget who it was that they brought in. But they got, neither one of them wanted the job. And
then he got on the phone with empty air because there was nobody they knew at that point.
Yeah, there was nobody they knew. Yeah,
so,
unfortunately.
Elliot Wolfe had to choose the OC.
Yeah, he had to tap into who he knew. He had the relationship with Van Pelt, and that's who they brought in.
It's just a slap together coaching staff. Slap it all together. Expiring contracts, which Kraft loves.
Oh, please.
Well,
that's why, Chris. That's the reason why they
get paid by other teams. I mean,
Well, that's the reason why Nick Haley's not here, because he wanted a certain number to leave where he is, the Rams. Obviously, Kraft wouldn't pay it. It wasn't Mayo's decision not to give him the money. It was Kraft's.
Because if you own the room, okay, if you own the room as a head coach, then you say to your owner, you got to pay this guy.
Yeah,
this is the guy I want.
As a first-year coach, you absolutely got to do that, Chris. Listen, I'm a first-year coach. You want me to be successful. This is the guy I want. We're going to have to pay him. Right?
So this whole idea about following the plan with quarterback, I agree with their following a plan. I just don't know if it's for the right reason. If it's for the PTSD over Mac Jones, because he was here for that, which is kind of what you alluded to a little bit, that they don't want the same thing to happen that happened to Mac Jones. So they kind of beat up about it. If that's the reason, that's the wrong reason. If it's the reason of, hey, he's 21 years old, he doesn't have enough, like I said in the previous segment, as to why Drake May shouldn't play, then fine, I give you credit. But I don't know if it is, Mark. And kicking over to Elliott Wolfe now. Okay. If you hadn't seen it yesterday, make sure you tune in to Corso and Catone's comments, because Mark had a lot to say about Elliott Wolfe and that situation. And this is I'm going to hear from him right now. This is Mr. We're happy with what we have, right? We're happy with what we got. Yep. Talking about the offensive line this week. Joe, do we have it?
April, we asked you if the roster was in the position to support a rookie quarterback. And at that time, you said you thought it could. Do you still feel that way? And is there any concern now about the offensive line?
Well, we're concerned about every position. We're always looking to improve and get things good. So whoever the quarterback is, it's not like if Jacoby's the quarterback, we just want to throw him to the wolves. So we're excited about our offensive line group. We're still working to find that the correct combination in there, and I think we have the pieces in place to be able to compete.
So you're confident that you can support any quarterback with the pieces you have in place?
Yes.
Yes. You don't have a left tackle. Because to not say that, Mark, is an indictment on what he did in the draft in the offseason.
Of course it was. Listen, he was okay up until, what he said about, we're always looking to upgrade at every position. That was okay. And then he talked about, Brissett and the fact that, we're not throwing him to the wolves. He should have ended it there, but then he goes too far with the offensive line comment, Chris. He's delusional. Just like he was okay with their young receiver group and how they're developing. That's why they didn't push the envelope with Ayuk. Like, this man's delusional. Why? Does he think he's got a number one receiver? Does he think he's really got a top end left tackle on this team?
No. He can't possibly. This is all to cover his ass.
He's excited about the offensive line, he said.
No, he's not. No, he's not. This is all to cover his ass because he knows that he screwed up in the draft. He stood there. They stood there while the draft passed them by, and they got the day sped up for them, and they couldn't come up and take a left tackle, and now he's screwed. And so, that's the reason that's happening, Mark. So,
absolutely.
It sounds like every one of them is allowing space to pass the buck to someone else to answer for.
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Yes. See?
Joe, that's an experience. That's an experience thing, Joe. You're right on the ball, Joe. I thought he was sleeping in the booth. He's awake today. Jesus.
No, he's right. He's right.
100%.
It is passing the buck. It's Mayo sitting there, cover my ass. Van Pelt, I'm going to cover my ass by not giving the same snaps. And Elliott Wolfe, I'm going to cover my ass because of my screw-ups in the draft.
But Joe,
everybody's covering their ass.
Chris, they're covering their ass. But it's also something we talked about at the beginning of training camp. It's an experience. They're all first-time guys in their roles. And now you're starting to see that come out by everyone who's covering their ass. Wait until they start out the season like 1-7. Then we're really going to see this start to spiral and spin. Because none of these guys have ever done this before, Chris, at these positions in the organization.
Give me 20 seconds on your overall final take from the coaching in camp. Can you do it in 20? Do it. You can do it. I have faith.
Yeah, Chris, I'm not impressed. I was excited. I was excited. Poor. If I had to give them a grade, Chris, I'd give them a D-.
Well, that certainly wasn't 20 seconds, Joe. So
right,
I give him a similar grade. You know what I think about it. So
yeah,
keep tuned in because we're going to talk more and more about this as the whole season grows. And let's hear from you in Heated Hotline in the mailbag. But Coach's Corner was presented by Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England Field, Saturdays, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. Hey, we got it all. Yankees, Red Sox, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that and so much more. So make sure you're tuning in and logging into our shows. Hey, when we come back, going to talk Pat's preview of that Washington Commanders game coming up tonight. Stick around. The real deal New England Field. What does that mean? We're like you. We're going to bitch about everything.
My opinion, our draft, the good, the bad, it was ugly.
These people, Mark, drive me freaking insane. Bananas.
It's so frustrating and aggravating. I can't take it.
The real deal New England Field. It's going to be real. Joe, you got to stop playing that promo. Stop it. Because I had more here then, it seemed, whenever the hell that was. This team is making me lose whatever I got left.
Well, we see that in there anyway.
my forehead just keeps getting bigger and higher and all that, right?
Me too, please. What are you going to do? Who cares?
It's driving me crazy. The Patriots are driving me nuts, and I know they're driving everybody in the nation nuts too out there. So, well, talk about nuts. Let's talk about what's going to happen tonight in the Commanders game. We're going to do it in Pat's preview. Joe, do we have something for that?
We have that with the little Corso Law Group.
Okay.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, CorsoLawGroup.com.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Hey, we got to get our cheap plug in for Corso Law Group.
Yeah, we do.
Put that in there. So, Mark, they play tonight. And just so you all know out there, this is going to be an example of what you're going to hear every Sunday morning during the season. We're going to have basically our pregame show. We'll talk a little bit about what took place the week before as it relates to what they need to do now. All the things you're going to need. It's the real pregame. The things you're going to need to take into the game to say, okay, now I know what I'm looking at. That makes sense. Right, Mark?
Yeah, of course. Listen, this is you get up, you have your coffee, and you make sure you put on 790 The Score, because when you have your piece of sausage, you want to listen to me and Chris.
That's right. That's right. We're like you. We're like you. We're going to bitch and complain and then cheer it on. So,
well, listen, they can start their pregame. Listen to us. If they got a home game, they'll be tailgating. Hey, put us on.
We can give you agita. We can give you heartburn just like anybody else. So, make sure you're tuning in. So, Mark, looking at this Washington game tonight, offensively, what's your expectation? I mean, I think they're all going to play.
Mayo claims they're all going to play. Why is Zappe still playing though? Well, what are they doing with him?
I mean, did you agree that he's going to be the odd man out or what?
I believe so. Yeah, and I was hoping maybe somebody would want to trade for him, but with a couple of teams had quarterback injuries, but nobody's reached out. So
that's how bad he is.
That's how bad he is. But yeah, so it looks like all the quarterbacks are going to play, Chris. But it's interesting. I'd be interested to see how many series Brissett actually does play. You know what I mean? What are you looking at for the quarterbacks? Is there something you want to see out of Brissett or Maye Saturday night?
I want to see Brissett because if Bill were here, Brissett would be playing longer because of how he's performed.
Okay.
Because I want to see him control the offense. I don't have a problem with getting out of the huddles in the operation. What I have a problem with is his protection of the ball. He's been loosey-goosey, in the pocket, maybe take a sack instead of like kind of throwing it while people are at your legs. Some of his reads haven't been good, and that interception was atrocious. He's sailing balls over people's heads. So I want to see more consistency with Brissett. I'm not expecting Mahomes, okay, but I'm also not expecting Zappe either. You see what I mean? So I'm looking for more consistency. Keep that team ahead of the sticks. Keep the offense moving. Be smart with the football. I'd like to see that.
All right. Yeah. I want to see, and conversely with that, Chris, I want to see if Drake May can build off of what he did against Philadelphia. I understand the Commanders, by the time May gets in the game, I'm assuming he'll be going up against the 2s and the 3s for the Commanders. But I want to see if he can build, because with a young quarterback like this, Chris, can they continue to build on top of 1 positive, 2 positive, 3 positive? You know what I mean? Because like you said a couple of weeks ago, Chris.
It's about reps too, yeah.
That's what I mean, reps. But I want to see if he can build off of last week. But like you said, Chris, he's going to go on mothballs in a couple of once the season starts. So let's see what he does against Washington, because once the season starts, he's not going to be on the scout team. He may get a few reps, but Brissett's going to get 99% of the reps because you're preparing for your next opponent. Right. So his development in the regular season, Chris, is kind of going to be stymied, I think.
It's going to be up to him. It's going to be up to him to get in the film room. It's going to be up to him to get his individual workouts in and take advantage of all the reps. I get it. So I want to see right.
So now, that's what I want. I'm excited to see what.
What about the offensive line? Are you? Because I know I'm looking for consistency and continuity.
I was just going to say that they're going to put out there, like you said, the consistency. Is this going to be your starting group week 1? Then they better start. And I would play them the whole first half and see what they look like and see if they can actually do this. I know you don't want to risk injury, but this offensive line, Chris, it's been there's been no consistency, and you've had guys in and out. I really think in a real game situation, you're going to have to pick a group and go with them the whole first half, Chris. And if Lowe's hurt, then you're going to have to go with, well, what's our starting lineup if he's hurt, and go with it.
I mean, again, like I said, I mean, the drop-off, it's not like you're sitting there saying, well, I don't want to get these guys hurt. So the drop-off, the drop-off is people say, well, there's a huge drop-off. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, I need to see them together. So I need to see Okafor at left tackle. I need to see, Wallace at right tackle. Then I need to see Owino at one point kick into right tackle. I need to see Robinson. This is the group I need to see along with Andrews. Show me that group and let them play together, like you say. So that's with the offensive line. The wideouts.
Well, against Philadelphia, Thornton really didn't play, Chris. So is Thornton going to play?
Coming off that little minor injury.
If Thornton doesn't play, Chris, does that mean he's already made the team?
God, I hope not. I think you need to see Thornton, Rieger, and Butte.
Yep, I want to see Butte get plenty of play Saturday and see if he can take another step forward. I think you need to get Baker the ball and try to get some of that confidence back, because I still think he gives you something, Chris, you don't have on this roster. So I think you need to try. I want to see them try to focus on Baker and get him throws, because if May's in the game for an extended period, May and him have a really good rapport. So I want to see May get him the ball and see if he can get through the drops, because I still think, Chris, he gives this team something they don't have, because as we said earlier in the show, Kendrick Bourne's going to be on the pup. So he's not going to be starting on week 1. So
no. He's going to go out for half the season. I don't think you need to play Osborne. I don't think you need to play Pop Douglas. I think those guys can sit down, because I think that roster spot down at the bottom end is the one that really makes the difference.
And I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. I think you've seen enough of Polk.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I wouldn't risk getting him injured either, but I would play Baker a lot because I want to try to get him confidence. I think I'd play Rieger, I'd play Butte, and I'd probably, play Thornton.
Well, you got to play Thornton too.
And see what, like you said, they're fighting it out for that last roster spot at the wide receiver.
I just don't understand, Mark, why they don't see. Look, this Butte shows up in games. And he makes difficult catches. He runs after the catch. Even last year against Philly, he was open in that home opener against Philly. He was open. He did toe tap. Okay, I get it. But he was
open on other plays that they didn't get him the ball. Right?
And that was against a pretty good secondary.
That was against a pretty good defense in secondary. So Chris, here's the thing. I understand practice is practice, right? And maybe Thornton and Rieger show a little bit in practice. But you're right, Chris. But when you go to the game, Butte shows up in the game. Isn't that what this is all about?
Yeah. Rieger sucked last year. Rieger sucked.
Rieger was terrible.
I mean, you can blame the quarterback and everything else was going on, but listen, you know how many games we can go to last year and say, hey, they would drop passes, the route was run improperly, it was rounded, it wasn't crisp. I mean, I don't see why you need to keep a guy like that. You got this kid Butte who's got youth, he's got athleticism, he's got loads of talent. If you can tap into it, keep him.
I agree, Chris. What are you looking for on the defense?
Yeah, so for me, again, it's what we talked about. I want to see what the defensive line depth is. I don't think that you need to give Gottschall a ton of time.
Neither I wouldn't give White a ton of time either.
No, and I think Roberts that's now come in, I think he needs to see the field to get his feet wet. The depth piece they brought in. Want to see what Kale can do in the run against the run. So Farms the same
Chris,
way.
I have a feeling you're not even going to see Keon White. I don't even know if they'll let him see the field.
And I don't think
because
so.
They can't risk injury.
And they're certainly not going to play Uche because he's hurt anyway right now.
No,
but I do think Jennings will play some. And I want to see some things out of Jennings in a pass rush, because that's the thing that to me is going to be key to make up for what happened with the loss of Judon and Bondmore, is you're going to have Keon White, but Jennings is going to have to be one of those guys too that can come off the edge.
Chris,
I don't know if Dietrich Wise will play a lot or maybe just a small amount.
Do you risk putting Christian Gonzalez out there at all?
I think you have to, just because I think you got to put him out there at least for first a couple of series, something like that, simply because he's had an uneven camp as far as his effort goes. It's weird because he showed up against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but he doesn't finish plays. It's like he's bored, and so I want him to go out there, and I want to say with a message to him that says, you're not there yet, kid. Get out there and play a little bit. I know it's a risk. I get it, but like a series, a two.
No, I agree with that, Chris. The other corner position, I think they're all fighting for position.
Well, that's
all
the
fighting
key.
for
That's what
spots,
we need
right?
to see, right? What are you looking for in the corners over there? Wade, Austin, Bolden, Dial.
Chris, it's bad over there. It's really bad. I mean, no one has shown you anything. I'm telling you, I'm afraid.
Wade hasn't looked bad.
He hasn't. I'm afraid, Chris, Jonathan Jones, when the week one will be kicking over there as your starting corner. And I know you don't want to hear that. But I honestly, unless somebody takes a step up, maybe we see something against Washington. That's why I want to see it. But I honestly think that's what's going to end up happening, Chris. He's going to have to kick out there.
And what about off-ball? Off-ball linebacker.
What are you looking at? You got nothing out there. You can look at. It's not like we're looking at somebody.
Does everybody hear the crickets right now?
Like, I want to see if this guy pops. There's no popping at that position, Chris. There's nothing. Listen, they're not going to play. You're not going to see Bentley much, right? Because they're not going to risk getting him hurt. You're not going to see probably Tavai. I don't know. Is Tavai even hurt? I don't know if he's played.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just can't stand it. I can't stand everybody telling me how good Tavai is. I mean, for them, look, I guess what we got to look at is we got to look at McMillan.
And McMillan was a little banged up this week in practice, Chris. I'm hoping he plays Saturday because that's his MO. He gets hurt because I thought he played well in that Philly game. I'd like to see him this week again and see what he shows because I think he gives you a skill set, Chris, that you need on this team. I'm not saying he's going to.
Well, he can go sideline to sideline a lot better than any of these other guys. Some of these other guys.
Not that he's Greenlaw, but he can go sideline to sideline better than our guys can.
And keep an eye on the next couple of weeks. Where's Takiaki? Where's Mapu?
Those guys have been hurt, right?
These guys we need these guys to come back, Mark.
Mapu, Chris, I keep telling you this. I think he's going to be a bust. That's been my prediction. And I said it when they drafted him. I didn't like the pick at all, and I'm going to stick with my prediction. And he hasn't shown anything yet. I know he's been hurt. We'll see. But that's a guy I really want to watch. Hey, Chris, where's your buddy? Cole Strange. I know you love that pick in the first round. He hasn't seen the field yet.
Maybe later on in the season. So make sure you all tune into the game tonight. Give us your thoughts in Heated Hotline and in the mailbag. But the Pats Nation was presented by Corso and Catone, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. We got Catone's comments. We got Yankees versus Red Sox. So make sure you're tuning into that. And come back to this show every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. All our shows are up for you. Subscribe, watch, listen. Give us that thumbs up. And anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are the Pats Nation. See you next Sunday.